Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get everything you need to the cloud in a much more efficient, non-ADHD way that I've been suffering. I had a bad ADHD yesterday.
How does one know when it's a bad ADHD day?
It's now, for me, it's interesting. I'm not going to say who, but one of my kids, we figured out, oh yeah, ADHD, got it. Go through that process. But during that process, as we're answering questions and talking to people and, reading up on it, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Have I been
fruit? Tree.
Have I? And I think this is a byproduct of our generation where you just like, oh, you're just a hyperactive child. Go outside, do this, power through it, whatever. And sometimes now that I've read up on all these things, I can actually recognize when I'm having those types of days, and I need to go outside and touch
like
grass.
A whole day.
Yeah, I'm like having one of those days. Yesterday was one of those days.
What I'm getting at is it's not an episode; it's a day.
It's a day. It's a full day of it. I'm trying not to have a day of that today. What I'm also trying not to do is be a complete jerk when it comes to how we talk about things in sports, because one day, let me rephrase.
I feel like there's a really big, you were right, Joe, about to come out of your mouth.
No.
I'm preparing myself.
No. My issue is we do this every NCAA tournament. Right? We get to the Final Four, we got to have a take on it, and then we create this big overarching conversation around how it is or what it is you need to win a championship. And we come out of the Duke-Houston game with,
So you got to be older.
Gotta be older. You know what? Screw it. Let's just get to the Jay Billis. This one actually got me mad.
Oh, I can see that.
Straight up mad. This was on the ESPN set ahead of the championship game. Here is Jay Billis blaming the ACC for Duke's demise on Saturday.
On the bench.
I thought the biggest factor in the game was the fact that Duke was inexperienced in close games. And that's where I felt the ACC really let them down. Everybody else in this Final Four had played games that came down to the wire day after day and game after game. And it reminded me of 1991, when Duke was playing UNLV in the national semifinal. UNLV was undefeated at Greg Anthony, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, but they hadn't played in a close game. And I remember Coach K telling the team, look, if we clean up the stuff from the game last year, we'll be in the game at the end. And we live in close games, and they don't. And I thought it was very similar that Houston has lived all year long in close games, and they've executed in clutch time. Heck, they have 4 losses. 3 of those losses are overtime. And they've got a team that is not afraid. They're fearless of consequences. So they're willing to take a shot, not concerned about the consequences. They're taking it to make it. They're making the play, not worried about the consequences of not making the play. And I thought that sharpness of being in so many close games was really the difference in that one. Duke hadn't been there before, and Houston had been there multiple times, and I think that was the force.
With all due respect to Jay Billis, that is a horseshit take. The 4 losses they had were in overtime losses. Well, the 4 losses that Duke had this year were also close losses that came down to the final possession. All 4 of those possessions came down to one guy, though, right?
Yeah. Listen.
No, but real quick on this.
Yeah.
If you want to bang, don't blame the ACC. You want to bang on Duke for not applying lessons from the close games they did play in this year, and including the last one, which was the Carolina game, where they let that lead evaporate and they were down in a crunch time and almost lost that game if it wasn't for a lane violation. If you want to bang on Duke for not applying the lessons of close game situations into what happened against Houston down the stretch, I am here for it. But don't blame the league for that. That's no accountability on Duke and John Shire and the players applying said lessons. Also, if you're going to say Houston was all these close games and that's what they were forged in the fires of, and that's what got them through, can you please explain to me Florida doing to Houston what Houston did to Duke? Right down with the final possession with 19.7 seconds to go, and you got worked defensively by Florida in that final possession. So I guess all those close games didn't pay off in that regard? Or did Florida play in more close games than Houston did? And that's ultimately what got him through. That narrative drove me nuts.
Well, let's start at the top.
Okay.
My number one takeaway from last night and where I thought you were going.
Okay.
As I love to say, college basketball is a year-to-year proposition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shit, Joe. Maybe I've been wrong this whole time. Maybe it's a game-to-game proposition because
sports, man.
Because Kelvin Sampson absolutely outclassed Purdue in the Sweet 16, and you're going, man, got one over on him. Absolutely outclassed John Shire in the Final Four. And you're like, man, got one over on him. Last night, they don't get a shot off on the last possession. That's one thing.
But there was more time before that.
But before that was I'm yelling at my TV. Okay. And this is something I'm always consistent with. Be who you are. Your pressure bothered Duke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you pressure Florida? Why didn't you pressure Florida?
It worked. It worked early on.
You finally pressured them late when you had to, and it caused Clayton to throw the ball into Canada. They got away with it because of a foul.
Yeah.
But whether you're up or you're down, you need to be who you are.
Yeah.
And just as I said, John Shire should go back and look at all mistakes and out of bounds plays and end game situations. Kelvin Sampson just has to remember sometimes, hey, this is how we got here. This is how we have to play. But game to game, month to month, week to week, year to year, all these things can change. And it's a fool's errand to try to make these sweeping generalizations about, and conclusions and hot takes on what we just saw.
Yeah.
Right. And Jay Billis, he really is a smart guy. He really is.
And nobody denies that. I just thought it was a bad take.
There's really part of me that would love to see Jay Billis run college basketball. There is.
Sure.
And I know he was on the staff. I know he was in the huddle about 1991, but I'll tell you this. My favorite thing about the podcast in general, the podcast culture, my number one favorite thing, and you know this, is let's go back and tell a story.
Sure.
Let's go back and tell a story. Forgot where it was, but Larry Johnson was on a podcast in the last year, let's say.
Okay.
And he said, that game against Duke was 100% on me. We beat the absolute dog shit out of them the previous year. We did not respect them. I didn't think I had to play that hard in that game. UNLV didn't lose to Duke because, quote unquote, they weren't in close games.
I know.
Larry Johnson went back and told you, the player of the year told you, we straight up did not respect them. Straight up. That's why we lost the game. He goes, I didn't play hard enough. I didn't think they were a serious challenge. And that's why we lost. Period.
End of discussion.
End of discussion.
Yes.
It wasn't because they weren't ready. They weren't prepared. It was the Mountain West or whatever conference they were in, the Big West.
Yeah.
The West Coast, whatever league they were in at the time. It's not the reason UNLV lost that game. So, it's slightly disappointing to hear Jay make those comments because, the league itself this year was not good. But
but that was on Duke. Duke made several mistakes in the game itself.
The game itself is not about the league. It was about Duke. But the league itself this year, though, to as we covered and we said all along, if Duke was being in a malaise or in this Gonzaga, if you will, problem,
I've heard that
you don't hammer teams the way that they did.
Right.
You have off nights.
Right.
Duke didn't have any off nights.
No.
The whole fucking year.
No.
Not one off night.
No. And while Houston did straight up beat them down the stretch, let's also not act like Duke did not beat themselves too. They beat themselves.
Yeah, you gotta make some free throws. You gotta make better passes.
Better free throws, not be so careless. And John Shire also, you go with what you've been all year. Why'd you suddenly tighten the bench all this? Honestly, you have utilized your bench all year long. Now all of a sudden down the stretch, key guys who have been key for you all year long, including guys like Caleb Foster, stopped. So I find this a little too cute and a little too convenient, and it'll blow up in your face the very next game when the team that you're praising for all these close games. And look, I get it. Kelvin Sampson was promoting his own league as he should, as a
on the court
after
the game. Yeah.
Sasquatch State, Toy Poodle League, all that stuff. I expect that out of a coach stumping for his league. I totally understand that. But don't sit here and tell me that the advantage was they were in more close games than the other. That's not not in how they lost in this game too. So I find all the narrative stuff going on to be ridiculous, but we actually know the real reason why Houston lost, because we do have a new curse. It's not lost on people that the minute they showed U.S. Senator Ted Cruz at the Final Four, because he was there as part of a bet with a Florida senator, I think it must have been with Marco Rubio, right? That they show him up there in the Final Four. He's not a Houston guy. I mean, I get it. He's from Texas, but he shows up, and then all of a sudden they start losing the game.
Is he wearing a Houston
dude.
pullover or shirt?
Yeah. So that's the reason why they lost. There's the Ted Cruz. It used to be the Drake curse.
Right.
Drake would show up, and the next thing you know, the next year, you'd bandwagon you. You win, he shows up, and then you never win again. But Cruz, he just shows up, and you're like, no! So I'm guessing there are Texas teams that are just straight up saying, please stop. Don't show up. Thank you very much.
Oh, speaking of Texas, I saw an amazing stat. I might have to pull it out on top of my head, but it was basically like within the last 4 years now, 5. Let's go back. I guess it must go back to Baylor in 21, right? So in the last 5 years, Baylor, TCU, and Houston have all played for national championships in either football or men's basketball. Meanwhile, Texas hasn't played for one in either sport since what is it, 09?
And they have all the money in the world.
And then the ... was, and Texas A&M hasn't played for one in 85 years.
Brutal. Speaking of all these big names, here's my question for you. Now that Florida has won a national championship again, and they've done it back to back, Billy Donovan back in the day.
6-7, yep.
Is Florida a blue blood?
You know what? That'd be interesting about Florida, though. Why do school? And this was my best morning Colin Cowherd was. Why do schools like Florida seemingly always figure it out?
Okay,
it can't be the money.
In what sense? I
mean, you randomly win football titles, right? Multiple coaches, multiple different years. Now basketball, you're winning another. You're at another cycle where you've won a basketball title.
There is a handful of schools that have the infrastructure, the size of the school, the money to be good at both. Florida seems to be the only one that can do it. And let's not act like they haven't gone through the football wilderness here the last few years.
I know the actual answer, though.
But you've got schools like Florida who've actually gone out there and done both. North Carolina is set up to do it, but they can't get football right. Texas, as you just mentioned, they got all the money in the world, and yet the football and the basketball can't get over the hump, if you will. UCLA should be in that conversation. Ohio State should be in that conversation because they got the population, they got the money and all that kind of stuff. Ohio State basketball can't get over, even though Ohio State football can consistently, right? Alabama, they're new money in that regard because they got all the money in the world. They got a good coach in NATO. But we know what the culture is. Same with Auburn. But I look at a handful of schools that should be good at both, and only one seems to consistently do it, and that is Florida.
And it comes down to my conclusion was it comes down to all those schools you mentioned are the University of.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there going, well, why can't it be Texas A&M? They got all this money.
Nah.
Why can't it be NC State? Why can't it be these other second
look
fiddles?
At Michigan and Michigan.
Auburn. Why can't it be Auburn?
Look at Michigan and Michigan
the Final
State.
Four in fairness.
Yeah.
In fairness.
Yeah.
Right?
Is it really comes down to University of ...
I think, first
Everett
of all,
Withers flagship.
I think Florida itself is the perfect location.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The talent pool that you're choosing from. That was my ultimate conclusion is, well, why does it keep working for Florida with different ADs and different coaches and different sports? It's because of the talent pool that they have access to.
Every time we talk about the ACC, which we're about to get into because it's going to be a very spicy offseason, we got some news to get to. It's brought to you by our friends Brian and Julie, the Donnelly Team Keller Williams commercial. Hit them up online, trianglencommercial.com, or call them directly at 919-616-8681. Maybe you've got an entire box of 2004 NHL draft shirts. It's just been sitting where you need a place for it. By all means, call them up. They've got a spot for you. If Giglio continues on this path of getting cursed jerseys, we got this MJ Morris now in the studio. We've got the Mikko Rantanen jersey as well that we did a swap for a couple of weeks ago. Maybe you need a holding spot for that. Keller Williams commercial can help you out. So,
Brian and Julie, give them a call.
TriangleNCCommercial.com. All right, you want to start with Carolina, Duke, or NC State?
Let us start with Carolina because this is the one that popped in my timeline when I saw some way too early top 25s for two different reasons.
Okay.
So let's start with Carolina.
Well, the immediate news is that Ian Jackson joins Elliot Cadeau and Jalen Washington on the entering the portal. Now, Ian Jackson's a little bit different in that the thought process with him was always a one and done. But it turns out, at least with somebody that I was talking to, he wasn't getting a first round grade. So now they're looking at their options. So he could always go to the combine, by the way. and test his, just kind of get the feedback there. But based on his inconsistent play, some would say his lack of development under Hubert Davis at North Carolina, he is going to go somewhere else. Whether it's the NBA or another school remains to be seen. I will say that one was a little bit surprising.
Why?
It's a Hubert Davis guy, and it's not like Carolina doesn't have the money necessarily. But as I've been told, and you've been told, the price of the brick continues to go up. Like we talked about this with Elliot Cadeau. Now, I understand if you want to say it's time to have the hard conversation, and maybe you should go somewhere else. And I guess Cadeau's going to be going to Michigan. I saw that popped up when I was on vacation last week. So he's going to go to Michigan. Cool, whatever. But Ian Jackson, if it's a money situation, what are we talking about here? That ends up getting into a separate conversation about Duke that I do think ties into Carolina and some other things that are going on with NIL. I think your house settlement, but maybe I'm overthinking it.
I think you're oversimplifying it. Okay. What did we say about now that RJ Davis is gone? Now is your chance for a hard reset.
No, but that's,
you know what I mean?
That's part of it. I thought with the deck, and I could have completely, I will admit that perhaps I read this wrong. I'm actually looking at the clear deck. RJ Davis is gone. Elliot Cadeau decides to transfer. You are a playmaker. You had a 7-game stretch where you electrified. Yeah, but clear deck. Ian Jackson comes back and really has an opportunity to shine.
They dicked him. He should have been the bus driver of that team. Yeah. And they dicked him. You don't go back.
You don't go back after that. You don't go back after that.
He's going to play for St. John's. You write it down right now. Actually, after the show's over, I'm grabbing a St. John's 25-1 because once he commits there, it will not be 25-1.
Fair enough.
He's a guy who need a new spot. The spotlight's going to be on St. John's next year. That's going to be amazing.
That's fine.
The Carolina thing, that doesn't surprise me. Drake Powell. Now, I know people, because of his defensive ability, people have talked about him being more of a surefire first-round guy.
Yeah.
I suspect he does come back because I think local guy, I think they probably did a little bit more on their relationship side with him and through the years, if you will. I think he comes back, and Carolina still needs to go get a point guard. They missed out on the New Mexico guy. That's where your money comes in. Okay. UCLA ended up being the big winner of the New Mexico point guard. He was considered to be the big prize on the point guard side. And I'm fine with Carolina not getting him because he was another smaller point guard. Like, in my opinion, Carolina just needs to get bigger, period, this year. Like, you can't have the Munchkin squad again out there. You just need to get bigger. And obviously Vassar or however the kid says his name, from Arizona, that was a huge pickup for them.
Right.
That was big. I mean, that was big time.
Yes.
Because Wilson's a 4. A little bit more of a stretch 4 that we know that Hubert likes. Again, where you fit in all these pieces. I think Tremble can be the kind of steadying kind of guy. He's your one holdover. I think he's a nice steadying guy. But I think
you do need continuity. And I think that was the to your point, getting dicked over. I understand that.
It's a good term. I mean, it's true.
But I'm also thinking of continuity and money.
Yeah, money is not the question with Carolina. It's not. It's really not.
Well, see, that's the part that I find interesting, because depending on who you ask, the budget might not be as big as you might think it is. Like, for instance, right? Because I do think this kind of ties together with Carolina. I saw this put out on social media from On3, Pete Nakos, who covers all the NIL, house settlement, what do the budgets look like? They tweet this out.
Joe Giglio, who talks to ACC coaches, who said Duke spent $10 million this year. But go ahead. Give it to Pete Nakos. Go ahead.
Give it to Pete Nakos. Right. I'm just saying I'm just telling you how it's presented, Joe.
I got you.
New, following its Final Four exit, Duke is ready to reload with $8 to $10 million available in NIL for the 2025-2026 roster, Pete Nakos reports. One source describes NIL war chest as unlimited. The real Mr. Unlimited, if you will. Of course, you're cracking up about this. So I'm looking at this war chest, and I was talking to another insider.
Look at you,
who was like,
those work boots on.
Carolina's probably in the $5 million range. They're not gonna be hitting where Duke is hitting right now.
Okay,
this ties into something that Doug Gottlieb was talking about on Field of 68 yesterday during their live show ahead of the national championship game. And I thought this exchange was pretty funny because this ties into another thing that you talked about, and we've kind of known about the Big East, the SEC, and everything else.
I love it when these coaches are finally like, no, wait a second.
So Gottlieb, the setup here is that Gottlieb is talking to Jeff Goodman, Rob Doster, and John Fanta, Field of 68, about the NABC coaches meetings.
Yeah.
Typically, they do not tell you what happens in the meetings, but Gottlieb, remember, is a hybrid.
That's right.
He's a hybrid. Not only is he the head coach of Green Bay, Wisconsin, he's also the guy or whatever the University of Milwaukee, Green Bay, or whatever the university he's at. He's also a sports talk radio host. And I thought this exchange was interesting.
Does UConn get back on track next year in the highest level? I want to ask him that.
Yes,
Look at
because
them. They're both nodding their head.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm going to do something which I don't know if anybody's done. So there's a head coaches meeting at the NBC. Did you guys hear about it?
No, we didn't hear what happened this year.
So
did Hurley show up?
I don't know. I didn't look around, but one prominent SEC coach actually got up and complained that the Big East has more money. and everybody
laugh at him.
This guy.
No way.
What? They didn't laugh at him, but the texts were going around like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" Like a fucking SEC guy.
SEC coaches.
I'm telling you,
complaining they don't have enough money.
The flip is coming. The flip is coming.
In what sense?
That revenue share, as a certain agent told me.
Yeah.
Like, you really don't think every single, especially the way the political climate's going and the Department of Education and really any guardrails whatsoever. He's like, don't you really think there's going to be any SEC schools save for Vanderbilt that's not going to put 19 of the 20 million into football of the revenue?
Oh, so so hold up. So
there's going to be a $20 million revenue cap.
Yes.
Okay. So what does the SEC really actually care about?
They care about football.
Okay. So if you're saying legally I can put $20 million into something,
you're going to put it into football.
There might be some performative part of you that's like,
no, there will be.
I'm just
there will be real quick.
Obviously, patriarchally, I'm saying it like there's part of you that's gonna be like, okay, we'll save $1 million for gymnastics, women's basketball, and volleyball.
Gottlieb talked about that because Gottlieb's whole point was later on was all the coaches going, okay, well, what does this mean about non-revenue sports? You know, how much of this is going to us? How much is going to them? Are Olympic sports toast? All this other kind of stuff, right? But here's the thing. If you are motivated, you will find the money. And while there is the revenue share that is giving you essentially a salary floor, you can then go to the pocketbooks of your supporters.
And that is the theory. That is the theory that is popular among agents. That is, the SEC is going to take the max amount and put it on football. And then they've gotten used to success in basketball and baseball.
Yes.
So they can then turn around and go to the fans and say, hey, we still need to hit you up for some money. So we'll use that for baseball. We'll use that for men's and women's basketball.
Greg Sankey is not going to allow basketball to fall off. I don't think that's going to happen because that dude wants to dominate everything. Also, there's dark money, Joe. Ask the Wall Street Journal.
The dark money.
So this came out while I was out. You didn't talk about this last week, did you?
Did not.
So this is from Andrew Beaton. He's one of the sports business reporters for the Wall Street Journal. And the headline reads, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it, but the headline reads, "The dark money behind Duke basketball." This sounds scandalous, which I find kind of weird because everything is legal now. It's the Wild West. There's nothing illegal. Okay.
I feel like
the dark money behind Duke basketball. And the subheadline reads, "The Blue Devils have a Final Four roster that takes millions of dollars to assemble, but exactly who is paying for it remains a mystery. That's no accident." And the premise of the story is that you have multiple schools with all these collectives.
And they're very proud and public about it.
And they're very public about it. We know what the collective name is at Duke. We know what it is at NC State, which we'll get to here in a little bit. We know what's going on at Carolina. But see, at Duke, there's this LLC nobody knew about until Wall Street Journal figured it out.
Oh, my gosh. Thank goodness.
They talked to Rachel Baker, who's their general manager, as I scroll.
Rachel Baker, former Nike employee.
Right. There's like this collective has no such digital presence, and its near invisibility stands in stark contrast to their booster club, the Devils Club. In response to inquiries from the Journal about this collective and the activities, Rachel Baker, men's basketball general manager, who was hired in 2022 to oversee NIL, says the under-the-radar approach is quite intentional. For one, she says, it helps protect the players' personal lives when boosters aren't touting how much they're being paid. It's no secret what we do, Baker says, but the discretion around it is more about our athletes' privacy than anything
Look
else.
at those David Tepper looking like motherfuckers in that picture.
Oh,
my God.
I know that. I see that dude around Duke games all the time.
My God.
Steve Dunkner. I had no idea that's what that guy's name was. I see him all the time, honestly, for being real. When I go over to Cameron Indoor Stadium, now it makes sense. But here's the thing. We already know that nobody knows how much. Not even the coaches know how much money's floating around.
Right.
I mean, how many times have we talked?
There's only so many AJ DeBance's dads out there spelling out his plan like a Bond villain.
And you know how I know that? Is because coaches go and do appearances and act like message board posters when they say, I heard ... Mac Brown did this last year. Pat Narduzzi said Pete.
I feel like it's Pete. Yeah.
Pete Narduzzi sounds like hey,
you sound like a State fan.
Pete.
Just be Clemson. What are you talking about?
Pete Narduzzi sounds like a guy who was walking around with that sheet in middle school.
Pete's got the devil's horn.
Right, that's what it is. Hey, Pete, what you got?
Oh, you talking about?
Pat Narduzzi was like, well, I heard they were getting this, right? And even in the Field of 68 interview, Gottlieb was saying coaches just have no idea what's really going on at other places because it's so secretive. So you want to call it Dark Money is a snazzy headline, though. See, I'm an idiot.
It's good.
See, I'm a dope. You know, I don't know the SEO game. I don't know the headline stuff.
Throw it in ours.
The dark money around triangle basketball,
yeah.
Which actually gets us to NC State.
I was going to say, you want to talk about a smart hire? Andrew Slater knows these agents, knows what some of these the going rate is better than most other people.
Whoa. You mean Slater actually is going to be the general manager at NC State?
Yeah.
You didn't ruin it?
No.
Okay.
No, that's weird. Wow.
So weird. I thought you ruined it.
Yeah.
I thought that by you, I don't know, reporting, doing your job, that apparently was going to prevent Andy Slater from getting the job or something.
He didn't talk to the Thunder. Well, that's on Andy Slater. You shouldn't be talking to people I know. If you didn't talk to your own employer, it's not on me.
So that's official now. Slater's going to be the general manager.
Not only that, they announced 3 positions. NC State's serious about this shit, man. Andrew Slater, general manager, chief strategist, men's basketball. Patrick Stacey, the assistant general manager, and Reed Vile, the special assistant to the men's head basketball coach.
NC State will never have dark money because NC State fans would be too proud to tell you I spent all this money on basketball.
NC State fans are too busy texting me, telling me, no. We got Will Wade.
We got this guy.
You need to tell people that we got Will Wade.
There's no such thing as dark money.
Don't you let him get away.
NC State fan is the guy who just he got that Christmas bonus and he's in Vegas like, let's go. We're here, baby. We got that money. So yeah, no such thing as dark money at NC State. But and I kind of put this in the headline, and that I alluded to it yesterday. This offseason of Triangle Hoops is going to be spicy because you're seeing where John Shire is going to go. You're seeing what North Carolina is going to become.
Not yet with Duke. Like, I want to see what they do in the portal.
Yeah.
We know what they got in Boozer and some of these other guys. But I really want to see what kind of another one of those veteran pieces that they had.
Sure. It's one of those things where I think the dark money piece ties to this as well, because I've seen a lot of this. I didn't want to spend too much time on this because I understand it's just haters in the comments, right?
Okay.
But a lot of YouTube comments, a lot of social media comments on Instagram and TikTok in relation to Duke losing was pointed at John Shire and like, how can you say he's a good coach, yada, 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 when he has everything there for him? And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, are we just having a redo of the Roy Williams conversations about how he's an overrated coach because he had everything going for him at Carolina? It's not that simple and plug and play. You need a lot of things to come together for you. You need the right coach. You need the right infrastructure around the coach. You need the want to factor, obviously, which as we get to NC State, they got that want to factor again. But that coach then has to utilize all the things that are there for him to get the right roster mix.
It's the people skills too. Like we just said about Ian Jackson.
Yes.
If you're playing a little bit of a longer game with Ian Jackson, the season doesn't go the way that it went for Carolina. There's no reason that kid shouldn't have started. Not a single one.
So to be dismissive over Shire and like, well, yeah, he's not that good of a coach. I could coach that, generational group of people. Well, you still got to convince them to go there. Recruiting is part of the job.
Yep.
People skills Recruiting is part of the job.
To quote Roy Williams, don't even say it, Joe.
Man.
Recruiting is part of coaching.
That was always one of those funny things when they would do those the CBS Coaches Confidentials, and every single one of them would bang on Roy Williams for having an easy job. All right. Clearly, it's not that easy of a job at North Carolina. It's not.
No.
I mean, we've seen instances.
It's an advantage for sure, but you still have to be able to manage it.
I am looking forward to seeing how all these roster situations play out in the triangle.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
We've got the OG birthday bash at Shady's May 1st. We are going to unveil, we'll have a keg of this OG Light. We got our first beer. We're going to can it eventually. I'm working on a label with my guy Eshba.
Okay.
So we got to work on a label, get it approved and all that stuff. It's going to be canned and available.
I was going to say, price of cans, man. We might need to start ladling it out like a soup line.
Actually, I already called the Donnelly team, Brian and Julie, to stash all the cans I've purchased before the tariffs.
Good.
So we're good on that.
Good
but we got a keg of OG Light that will be available at the OG birthday bash at Shady's.
Let's go.
Your opportunity to taste the OG beer-flavored beer and see how lit Giglio's going to get off of it. So that's May 1st, Shady's.
6p.
Unless the Canes play. We might push it a little later.
No, we'll still start at 6.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Of course, thanks to Whitaker and Hamer for being a corporate champion and providing the space in Shady's. You have any legal needs? By all means, contact them. wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Speaking of the playoffs, you're going to need your dope spot to find beer, snacks.
What questionable product will we be promoting?
Zinnies. Maybe even a little block party before a playoff game one day. Once we get an idea of when the playoffs are going to start and when the first game is, it'll all be at Breezethrough. Breezethrough.com. We thank them for being a corporate champion. You might want to stress eat during the playoffs. May I suggest you go to Two Roosters and get the Slave and Sunday? It's the best bang for your buck in the building.
No, you got to get the chocolate chip carrot cake.
Why not both? Do they sell the chocolate chip carrot cake at the arena?
No,
I don't think so.
You got to go to one of the spots.
Go to the spot. But when you go to the Canes games, and they got what? They got a back-to-back this weekend.
Canes,
the Rangers who have they're leaking oil right now, and then the Leafs on Sunday. So go to Two Roosters, get that Slave and Sunday, and of course drop by their locations because they've got fantastic rotating flavors, including the new Mount Rushmore flavor of that chocolate chip carrot cake. And of course, our friends at the Butcher's Market. You're going to tailgate. The weather's going to be nice. You can get all sorts of goodies to grill out there. You can buy all the hot dogs you want, but they got more than hot dogs.
No.
Now what?
Hold on.
Now what?
Hold on.
Now what? Now what do they have?
Tuesdays in April, man. It's Tuesday. Tuesdays in April. They got chicken bake entree, broccoli salad, green bean almondine. Buy one, get one on 85 and 92% ground beef. Chicken thighs are buy one, get one. And homemade bacon, 25% off.
Their bacon is really good.
Tuesdays. It's a Temptation Tuesday at the Butcher's Market.
So go check them out, thebutchersmarkets.com. Well, speaking of the Carolina Hurricanes, we had some spicy Rod Brind'Amour yesterday at his availability ahead of tonight's game against Buffalo. He was asked a question about Alexander Nikishin and when exactly he's going to show up. In classic Rod Brind'Amour fashion, he did not have answers.
I know you love talking about people who aren't on the ice with you, but Alexander Nikishin's season's end. Are you keeping track of that
Nope.
at all?
I have no clue what's going on there. I just know that we were obviously, high on them, and I'm assuming they're going to try to get him here whenever they can, but I don't know that, so that's my question.
So, classic Rod, that's what I would expect. I know that Tom Edwards wrote about Nikishin last week over at ogtrianglemedia.com. Sign up for the newsletter. You get premium podcasts. We just dropped an ACC Panic Room with me and Brownlow. And I think Tom does a really good job of giving people just a very concise Cliff Notes version of where we're at on certain things, including what's going on with Nikishin and the KHL season being over. The nuances of trying to sign a guy from the KHL, when they can arrive, and everything else. I think the one thing that we might be overlooking, and we're going to talk about this with Sara Civian in a second, but I was curious to get your thoughts on this too, Joe. What about Rod would lead you to believe that, let's say they sign a contract. They get him at, his party's happy with what they're giving him. The Canes feel happy with saving a little bit of money because remember, Dundon wants to win deals. There's all sorts of nuance to get into the weeds that Tom talks about in the newsletter related to rookie rights and yada, 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 right? So let's say they come to an agreement and he's available to the Canes before the playoffs. Do we really think that Brind'Amour is just going to insert this guy from the rip?
Like we talked about this yesterday. I have a hard time trying to figure out where to play him because Orlov is the weak link.
Yeah.
And given Orlov's nationality and Nikishin's nationality, it would make the most sense to put those two players
to put the Russians together.
Yeah. I mean, you just got Walker back. Play him we play him with the Ghost. Chatfield's one of your best defenders with Slavin. Burns is the other weak link, but Burns is off the books after this year.
Yeah.
So, they have this thing all set up. They know what they're doing. Or in terms of Orlov and Burns come off the books, you figure Morrow and Nikishin come on.
So you bring up more, and I know where this is. I know where this is headed. Because I've already seen this, and people are already upset at the play of Brent Burns. They're already upset at the play of Orlov. To your point, they're coming off the books,
and should be.
And they should. I'm not dismissing it.
Yeah.
But I also know, and you also know, and the fans should also know that Brind'Amour is going to ride with the dudes like Burns and Orlov more so than an unknown.
Correct.
Okay. And while I think people understand this guy's talented, he might be the next big thing. Morrow is another example of that. That's a next year problem. Rod's trying to get through this season, to get to this postseason. And if you don't believe me that he's ready for the playoffs, may I just give you this exchange coming off of the fights that happened against Washington last week. And there was no discipline for Jalen Chatfield. It was just end of year.
What discipline? What?
Oh, dude, online was nuts. People wanted Jalen Chatfield discipline. Could be no discipline. But this actually gets to Brind'Amour's point.
A lot of drama coming out of that Washington game. Do you expect any carryover to Thursday? I mean, a lot of the media. The media is the one that dramaed it, and they're morons. Typically, if you're going to say that what happened at the end is anything other than I've seen 1,000 times before, you don't know what you're talking about. Go look at the game exactly before the Boston-Detroit game. Two really good heavyweights going at it. Watch how that fight ends. It's a takedown. Sorry. Quit making something that it isn't. Because that's not a fair characterization of our player. And that's what bothers me on that. Do your homework.
Spot the line.
Brind'Amour takes in more media than I think he cares to admit. I really do. I mean, he straight up told us. He's like, yeah, and I saw one of your YouTubes. I was like, Rod, don't, man. Like, why do you do that to yourself? Don't get on YouTube. It's the last thing you need to do. To see what the algorithm spits out to you when you're talking about the Carolina Hurricanes.
Those workout videos. Got to be.
Do you really think Brind'Amour is going through a free workout video routine on YouTube? You don't think he has that thing down pat?
There's probably there's the Kaiser chop. You never know, man.
Well,
the dude's a perfectionist.
All right,
could be like, hey, I think I do this exercise the right way, but let me see what the top fitness model in the world does.
So maybe there is something to that. I remember when Brind'Amour officially retired, he came through the radio studios to do, all right, let's get you in the studio, talk about your career, that kind of stuff. So me and Adam Gold are in a production studio, and Rod points out to me that, oh, you look like you're a little bit more in shape. I'm like, thanks, I guess, for noticing. And that was when I was doing an endorsement for P90X. Remember P90X?
Yes.
With
Bruno Mars did? No? Yeah, it's the song.
Is it in the song?
Yeah. I want to be a billionaire.
Oh, I don't even remember that one. I'll have to go look up the lyrics.
And Sex and P90X.
P90X, I don't remember that one.
Oh, come now.
I don't remember that one. I know the latest Bruno Mars song with Sexy Red.
It was Travie McCoy, but Bruno Mars is on the song.
Oh, is it
Billionaire? I want to be a billionaire.
Yeah, okay.
So fucking bad.
I know which one you're talking about.
All of the things I never had.
I remember that one. Okay,
I want to be on the cover of.
Okay,
let me find the P90X part.
Okay, Joe, we get the point. You don't have to sing the whole song. Thank you.
People like it when I sing.
Do they? Do they though? Anyway, This is when I was doing P90X, and of course, Rod's asking me a bunch of questions about P90X because, of course, he would be asking me questions about P90X. And I just joke with him. I'm like, dude, Tony Horton, the guy who's the instructor, you're well beyond what this guy is doing. Like, this is just muscle. And when I said muscle confusion, he goes, oh, yeah, okay. He was all locked in. But now I'm curious. Now I'm going to jot this down. This is a Rod Brind'Amour off-season discussion. What is the YouTube algorithm feeding you in terms of workout videos? And have you actually done any of these workout videos on YouTube?
Well, given his Spartan beach exercises,
do you? Rod's too humble to actually do an influencer YouTube workout video himself.
Yes, that would.
There's no way. There is no way he would get on YouTube and is like, I'm going to show you how to get ripped with this beach workout. I never think that's never going to happen.
Really nice girl, have some really nice sex,
and then. P90X?
Yeah.
Is it not in the line? You're still looking for this?
Yes.
Just go to Genius.
Tomorrow I'll wake up, do some P90X.
Okay.
Meet a really nice girl. Have some really nice sex. Really? It was great. What's the song? Oh, wait a second. It's a different song.
What song is it?
The Lazy song. It's not I Want to Be a Villain.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can't say that I'm immersed in the Bruno Mars catalog.
Today, but I don't feel like doing anything.
And the whistle. Do. Okay. All right.
That's the P90X song.
You know what?
Could have worked on both.
Coulda. You know what? Tell you what. Let's bring Civ on, shall we? Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, it is Sara Civian. Check out the newsletter. We'll get into the most recent newsletter that Civian just wrote about. Civ, what up?
Not much. Excited for next week. How about you?
We're going to spend tax day together. We're very excited about this. So, look, the cool thing about running your own company and doing things your own way, you can pivot real quick. And we had another event scheduled on April 15th. We had to postpone it due to some scheduling conflicts, but you're still going to be here because we already paid for your flight. Oh,
you're making it sound really glamorous. You really want me to be there.
We do. And I know the people want you to be here, and we want you to walk around downtown Raleigh. It's so much more walkable now. So April 15th, Crank Arm, rocking the shirt today, Crank Arm Brewing in downtown Raleigh. Thing starts up at 5:00, and then me and Giglio are going to be talking some Canes hockey and some general stuff as well, starting at 5:30. So come on through. Then Tom's going to have some games. We'll have prizes. It is free. So show up, bring your cats, bring your cat pictures. We can talk about all sorts of stuff and hockey, of course. And again, that'll be on April 15th, next week, next Tuesday at Crank Arm, starting up at 5:00. So I'm looking forward to that, Civ.
Me too. My cat Rangoon really misses her hometown of Holly Springs, so please bring the cat pics.
Do we need to show Rod Brind'Amour some cat photos just to chill him out? This happens all the time. I feel like there are teams right now around what's today's date, April 8th. There are some teams that are just ready for the freaking playoffs, and the Canes are one of those teams. They clinched. Now let's just get to this freaking thing healthy as possible. Let's freaking go. I think that's where the Canes are at right now, and it's starting to show in how Rod is reacting to some things in the media.
People want realness, and then they hear him talk and they go ballistic for some reason, but and it's just a problem in the world these days where you take the most like on paper version of what somebody said, where it's like, if you actually hear, and there's two things he said where he's like, I have no clue what's going on with that, but he's just being honest and he's focusing on the playoffs. And then in other situations, he's defending his guys, but maybe it comes across to somebody with capitals in bio, right? Washington, D.C. in bio. He comes off as like an asshole or whatever it is, but he's just either defending his team or being real. And people just have a problem with realness and not taking like a generous interpretation of what someone's saying these days.
Is there something deeper here between the Capitals and the Canes, or is this just a fan thing?
I think the Capitals and Capitals fans hate the Hurricanes, and obviously there's a lot of history there with the playoffs, but so they think Rod Brind'Amour is a whiner. I don't know why people think this, because I guess he goes at the refs, but why don't you want your head coach doing that? Like, I don't understand. I think it's a very biased opinion people have about Rod Brind'Amour.
I don't know if it goes back to, because you were covering the team at the time. I think it was when they got knocked out in the playoffs with the bend the knee tweet. And I don't think Caps fans have gotten over that. And of course, you've got the stadium series where the Canes absolutely worked them. And there were a lot of Caps fans there. It's just an interesting thing where you kind of take a step back, you look up and you go, wait a minute. These people are really going at it online. And you and I are also guilty of being a little too online. So I don't know how much of this is real and how much of this is just people need to log off and go touch grass.
It's just the moral superiority complex of it all. It's like, do you want to get into the weeds with Canes fans on Twitter or not? Because if you are, then don't have your moral superiority. Like, oh, we're a real hockey, whatever, the real hockey fans or whatever it's called. But like, how are you going to say that and not be a fan of Rod Brind'Amour? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, speaking of being online, I do find it interesting that so many people want it to still be 2019 and they're still finding reasons to freak out or be like an underdog. This is something that I've been trying to crystallize, and I don't know if you feel the same way about the Carolina Hurricanes. There's been an evolution since the bunch of jerk season. Tom Dundon has been adamant about the fact that their window to win is a lot more open than people think, and they're trying to keep this thing going, and that's backed up by the moves they've made, whether it worked out with Mikko Rantanen or not. They're aggressive. I applaud them for that. So the team operates a particular way, but I feel like the fandom has not caught up to the way that the Canes are operating. As somebody who expects to be here, maybe social media doesn't help. Like I didn't really appreciate the whole let's go dig up a Greg Wyshynski offseason.
Oh my God,
thing, right? And like the whole point of it is, and you've been in this situation. Mm-hmm. You're asked to write a quote unquote bold opinion. It's there in the headline. This is a bold opinion, and even in that article or his blurb, he said, "Look, I know it's crazy to think that a Rod Brind'Amour team won't make the playoffs, but you're asking me to make a bold prediction. So here we are." And people got mad at that. Like, we kept that in the draft. We were ready for you. And it's just a very interesting, like, nobody believed in us. I'm thinking to myself, y'all, it's 2025. People absolutely believe in the Canes at this point. What am I missing?
It's like people believe in the Canes more, which is why they have higher expectations. That's how things work. And that's how we talk about Nikishin. Like, I think some of the Hurricanes fans, it's still all they used to have was a prospect cupboard, right? And you think the one guy is you have to hold on to hope that the one guy is going to come in and change the world. You don't need that anymore. So we kind of have to stop acting like that about a generationally good KHL player, but still a KHL player that's coming in. Like, we have to temper expectations a bit. So I know that's a different subject, but it's still about expectations. Like, you see the fans talking about this is going to be a once in a lifetime player coming in, and maybe it is, but we don't know yet. So I just feel like you don't have to do that anymore, and you can't have it both ways with the dunking on Greg Wyshynski and making the playoffs for 7 years in a row.
Yeah. Although it's interesting, you bring up Nikishin. What do we know about Rod Brind'Amour and new players at this point?
And he doesn't know, and he's going to see. He's going to wait. He saw it with Seth Jarvis. That's where he's like, you know what? I'll hand it to Seth Jarvis. He can make the team, but I have to see it with my own two eyeballs. I have other stuff going on right now, and our prospect guys will handle this. Darren York will handle this.
I guess what I'm getting at is, do people really expect Brind'Amour to just insert him into a defensive pairing right before the playoffs?
No.
Especially with his guys, because we know that about Rod. He's got his guys.
We got 21 season-long Brent Burns, and we are riding till the wheels fall off. Like, it's going to be a process to get anybody new in there. And why wouldn't it be? Because the way the Hurricanes work, it's so system-based and it's so defense-first, where you're like, it's a big risk taking a chance on somebody that has not played in the NHL before, even if he is the most points in a KHL defenseman's in history.
Yeah, I guess you look at his offensive production, and that's the one thing that the Canes need more consistency on. You also look, it has not exactly been a stellar season for Brent Burns or Dmitry Orlov, and I think that's what people are obsessing over right now when it comes to those two guys, Burns in particular. And I just don't envision I know how this is going to play out, right? He's not going to play. And Brent Burns is going to have some sort of defensive breakdown or whatever, and people are just going to hold that against Brind'Amour if they exit the playoffs earlier than anticipated or whatever it is. Like, if you weren't so reliant on this old guy, and you put the young guy in, maybe that would have saved you. I can already see the end.
It is a fair criticism of Brind'Amour that he does hang on to kind of the veteran presence over most things.
Yeah.
But what can they do? What is the capacity? Like, that's the question, right? And when you know what you already know, it's the devil you know is better than the devil you don't in a playoff situation a lot of the times. But a lot of the times he has been a little too stubborn, and maybe you look at his own career and it worked out for him, right?
Yeah.
Like he looks at himself, but not everybody is him. Not everybody's working out every single day. I mean, Brent Burns kind of is, but he has really struggled this season, in my opinion. And I'd like to see other players get a little more time, but there's a way to do it in a more sheltered role where you're not, it doesn't have to be black and white or either or. Like, you can try something and not when somebody's injured and just see how it goes.
Yeah. The other thing too, and speaking of trust, we talked to Brind'Amour in the offseason, and I followed up on goaltending, right? If you wanted to second guess how things played out between Freddie Anderson and Kochetkov, it would have been going back to Kochetkov sooner, or putting him in a position to trust, hey man, we need you to win some games too, rather than riding Anderson to mid-level results. Even he even said, Brind'Amour even said, we needed more out of goaltending in the offseason, right? And I asked him, like, would you go back and do it a different way? And he's like, yeah, that's a good question. He kind of deferred it, whatever. I do wonder in the back of his mind if he's going to go back to that this offseason, because it's not like Kochetkov has really given you this confidence that he's going to win you a bunch of games in the postseason too. He's got a high ceiling, right? But a really low floor. And I can see where the conservative nature of how you want to play this thing out, he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt in the postseason.
Well, Don Waddell's philosophy was always it's going to be above average defense and at least average mid goaltending, and that's going to be enough. But he's not here anymore, and you're seeing the transition, right? So I wonder if Tulsky might make his final transition with GM and do a bigger swing for goaltending, because I think that's a logical thing to do when you're getting the same results average year after year and you're in the same playoff position average year after year. The next thing, you tried the high scoring offense. I mean, you could still sustain that and try harder. Jake Gensel was great in the offseason, or not in the postseason, but then you still had defense issues at the end of their goaltending issues at the end of the day. So why not? Just why not is my question.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what Tulsky does this offseason, because the last time Giglio and I talked to him, this was after the Mikko Rantanen trade. And we had put the clip out there. He's just like, just point out the last Vezina Trophy winner that won a Stanley Cup. Like, you can win a Stanley Cup with decent goaltending. I guess the question is whether or not they've got a tandem that gives them exactly that decent goal, because you're going to need both.
But what was the difference with the Oilers and the Panthers? It's Stuart Skinner not playing his lights out. And you think somebody like Kochetkov could maybe get hot at the right time. Like, I don't know. I guess we'll see. This is what we're going to see.
My issue, I think goaltending is a lot like talking about a quarterback in the NFL. It is just the simple thing to get to when there's a lot of other issues at play. And the one thing that I cannot shake, and maybe that's where you wanted to go and get Mikko Rantanen. I understood on paper, obviously it did not work out, that once you get to the postseason, you can't make every goaltender look like they're unstoppable. Yeah. And that seems to be the Canes' problem the last couple of years, is that they run into the quote unquote hot goaltender. Are they running into a hot goaltender, or is just the system gets to a point where you need dudes to take over and not necessarily the system?
I think these days in the NHL, it's literally everything. And you look at special teams, that's where I shake my head. And you look at last season, the top scorers in the New York series were Necas and Gensel. So I'm really concerned about that heading into this postseason. What's going to happen? Those people don't exist on this team anymore. And I mean, you replace them. You got Jarvis. I really want to see Jarvis step up. This could be a signature postseason for him. He looks primed to do that.
Well, they're already putting him in the ads on the TV.
Yeah,
so it's time to go. Let's go, Seth. You got that contract. You're the almost low-key face of the franchise. Let's make this thing happen. We're going to make it happen. You're going to be in town next week, April 15th at Crank Arm. Start up at 5 o'clock. We will be doing a show there. We might even just do like live questions if we got enough people to show up.
Please come ask us anything.
Yeah, let's go. I'm excited for a little Reddit AMA in person. I would love to do that. And of course, Tom's going to be there from OG fans, OGTriangleMedia.com, and we're going to have some prizes because he loves the game show. So, Civ, we're looking forward to it. Everybody, come on down, hang out. Let's talk some hockey as we get ready for the postseason. We'll see you next week, Civ.
Yep, it's free on tax day. What else could you want?
Let's go. Big thanks to Civ for hanging out with us and, of course, showing up next week at Crank Arm. Should be a lot of fun.
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah. Let's just get crunk on a tax day.
4:15.
Mm-hmm.
We could celebrate.
We can. We
Toast.
made it, Joe. We made it. You can make it with our friends at Hometown Realty. MyHTR.com. You can make it to that dream home. You see a lot of new construction going up. You might have an idea on a property, and you're looking for, what can I do with this? Or you want to live in a particular area? Whatever tailored needs you have, they can work on you.
I like how you put that.
They can work with you, I should say. So contact them, myhtr.com. If you're looking to sell your house, look, there's a lot of companies out there offering these guaranteed cash offers. Those cash offers are shortchanging you. You are leaving money on the table. Maximize the value of your home. Speaking of your home, that is your biggest asset. You should probably utilize it when it comes to doing things like consolidating debt. So our friends at Miller Lending are going to help you out with that. Go to millerlending.com/theog or call Gordon and the crew directly at 919-447-3377. Interest rates are coming down. You might want to get out of the higher interest rates you suddenly found yourself in a couple of years ago. Or maybe you got an arm, that ticking time bomb, if you will, and you're trying to find a better way out of it. Well, not paying closing costs is the best way to go about it because you lock into a rate. That is the current rate. No games, no gimmicks, no buying it down, no break-even points. Just here's the rate. And if the rates continue to come down or your situation changes, like you want to consolidate debt, you're looking for a home remodel, you want to utilize the value of your home, refinance again with no costs involved. That's the beauty of Miller Lending. I've used it several times, and you should too. You're going through that process right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of that credit card debt.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And really is. The rates are crazy.
The rates are crazy. The home rate's going to be a lot lower. So contact them today, millerlending.com/theog. Speaking of your home and saving money, our friend Matt Davis is going to do that with your home insurance and your auto insurance. Contact Matt today, insuregarner.com, 919-779-8277. Home, auto, we've had a lot of testimonials from people who are like, yeah, Matt's not kidding around. So contact them, and that way you're going to find those savings. And maybe you think you already have a pretty good insurance thing. There's no harm in asking.
Have a conversation.
Just have the conversation. It's all good. So hit them up, insuregarner.com or 919-779-8277. Big thanks to Sam Jones for sponsoring the lightning round. Check them out in downtown Raleigh and Greenville as well. I don't know, maybe you are looking to host some big graduation party in a couple of months, in a few weeks, because we're getting up to that point. Well, guess what they can do at Sam Jones? They can cater that for you. So check them out in downtown Raleigh, Sam Jones. They bring you the lightning round.
Just got a text today from Sam Jones. I got a free banana pudding with my next lunch purchase.
Nice.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You go, you sign up. You don't even sign up. Just pay. You get these great offers, man. I guess, what do I get them? Every Tuesday, it looks like. I got a new text every Tuesday. It gives me a different offer.
I absolutely love that. Joe, you know what else I love? Another mock draft. Today's the big one.
The big one?
Today's the big one.
Not the big one.
It's a Mel Kiper day.
Oh, okay. It's not a five trade fever dream.
No, although in Mel Kiper's new mock draft, and there's going to be a mock draft special tonight at 6:30 on ESPN2.
If you could just give me a minute to call Jessica and just say, hey, babe, sorry, there's a new mock draft out tonight.
I know
I can't go to the state. I can't go to the state ECU game tonight because I got to take in this mock draft.
I know it's the ALS game. I get that.
Yeah, I know.
New Jerseys.
Yep.
It's all there for Chris Combs. I get that, but I didn't realize it was the same night that Mel Kiper's going to pop on ESPN2 and tell me some of the latest shakeups since his last mock draft in March. Some shakeups, Joe. Quote, this could get interesting right off the bat, and I shuffled landing spots in the top 5. So there you go. Some shakeups. He's got Abdul Carter going to the Giants.
Ooh.
Instead of Shedeur Sanders. All right, scroll. What do we get with the Panthers? Aha! Yesterday was a tight end. Today, it's a linebacker. Jalen Walker, Georgia, going 8th to the Carolina Panthers. Mel Kiper says no change on his Panthers pick projection, as this makes it 4 mock drafts in a row for Walker to Carolina. He's an explosive defender with bend and versatility. I like him at off-ball linebacker. He'd make plays all over the field for the Panthers with sideline-to-sideline speed, but he could absolutely rush off the edge too. He had 6.5 sacks last season.
Sounds like a win.
Can't wait to see all the shakeups, though, tonight, starting at 6:30. Over to college football, where I love when I get the Joe Giglio is on the toilet scrolling social media. What is he sending me?
What did we come up with?
What do we got? Oh, a Facebook scroll.
Yeah, you got to plant the seeds.
Is this is from Carolina football on Facebook? Getting better every day is the caption. The graphic reads from defensive coordinator Steve Belichick, one of the 2 highest paid positions. Him and Freddie Kitchens are the highest paid coordinators on that staff. Quote, the buy-in has been great. Everyone's working hard to get better, and I'm happy to be coaching this group of guys, end quote. That was a very mundane quote.
Way to go, Chat GPT. Thank you for coming up with a quote that we could put on Stephen Belichick so we could start promoting our future head coach.
You really think that's what
the wheels on the bus go round and round?
You really think that's what this is?
Yeah. Did you see Dollar Bill with his lady friend and Lil Weezy?
I did see
the picture.
I did see that.
See the picture?
I had plenty of folks.
The socials, not the video, the picture.
No.
Made sure that Jordan was in the picture.
Oh, of course, she's always going to be in the picture.
Yeah.
She's
CC, please.
She's the secret sauce.
CC.
She's the secret sauce.
If we could CC that one to Jordan, yeah, that'd be great.
Let me ask you a question. I don't know.
What do you mean? The University of North Carolina's going broke, and meanwhile they're paying Bill Belichick and his family and his friends all this money? That question?
No,
not that one.
Not that one. Do recruits care about Lil Wayne?
Oh, I don't know.
This is a legit question, by the way. I don't know. Because the one thing that I have to remind myself at 46, I do not know what's popping with the Utes.
I do
and
know.
While I associate Lil Wayne as a millennial act, that's what I
could be
associate.
Nostalgia already for people.
I mean, who's at Dreamville?
You know where I did think they screwed up?
Where'd they screw up?
And they can't really get around this one. I know for a fact the youths do not like Drake right now.
No.
They played the Jumpman in their latest, their latest social post before all this Lil Wayne stuff.
Yeah.
They did not the Soapy Balls day, but it was another day where they're, working really hard with their numberless jerseys.
Jumpman.
And they had the Jumpman song. I'm like, guys, you got to read the room here.
Oh, it's interesting. Jumpman had the commercial ready to go, by the way. Did you catch that last night?
Oh, for Florida?
For Florida.
Nice.
And how, they're just winning championships.
You see, Joe? The Jordan brand's taking care of Florida, but they're not taking care of his own school.
Weird, right?
Waiting for that one.
Yeah, man, we'll see how it goes.
I should have hot take that up today.
We'll see.
Now I'm mad at Billis.
Why?
That should have been the hot take for today.
What's that?
Jordan's. What's he doing out here? Why is he supporting other schools? Florida. Why
Michigan.
They shouldn't be wearing this. Should be ours.
Should be ours. And
the color of our shorts.
I don't know if the Utes like or dislike Drake at this point. I think a lot of people our age don't like Drake, but there are still people who ride for Drake out there.
No. The youths are caught up in Kendrick and the beef.
Okay. That was last summer, though.
Sure, but we haven't really heard from Drake since then.
No, we have.
There's been some lawsuits or some bullshit, but
yeah, he has sued his
he has
sued his
owned
label and all that stuff. But he's actually put out some music, just nobody's cared.
So
maybe you're right.
He's basically turtled.
No,
since
he just put out some new work, but I guess nobody cares about it. Nobody's listening to it. So maybe that is the case. Maybe the Utes are not into that.
This is not the person you want to ride with right now.
And the Utes still care about Lil Wayne because he dropped a milli. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. And I know that he was at Dreamville. Maybe that has something to do with it. Next up in the lightning round.
Topics stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
The contractually obligated to bring up something about the Masters to keep Giglio happy has arrived in the lightning round. Today, we have Rory McIlroy beefing with the media.
Whoa.
This was in relation to the fact that both, I guess, Rory and Morikawa have not talked to the media after rounds. And Rory decided to drop the hammer on that.
Rory, Colin Morikawa caught some criticism at the players for saying he owes the media nothing after he left Bay Hill early. You obviously caught some heat too after doing that at Pinehurst. The conversation after situations like that sometimes is, in comparison to other professional athletes, golfers can be a little more sensitive. I'm wondering if you think that's a fair or unfair assessment.
Well, he's right. Not that I think he could have worded it a little bit better, but look, every other athlete, whether it be in the NBA, NFL, they're obligated to speak to you guys after a game. We're not. So, whether that's something that the PGA Tour looks to in terms of putting that into their rules and regulations, but as long as that's not the case, and we have that option to opt out whenever we want, expect guys to do that.
Rory, Colin Morikawa.
There you go. There's Rory McIlroy. Apparently, Eamon Lynch, as Awful Announcing pointed out, clapped back at said comments. I'll go ahead and play this part too.
Let's go back to something that Rory said. He was asked by one of the writers about what Colin Morikawa did a couple of weeks ago at Bay Hill, and then backing it up a couple of days later in Ponte Vedra Beach at the Players. You alluded to it earlier, Eamon. What'd you make of what Rory said, backing up what Morikawa said and did those few days?
Well, he's right as a matter of policy, and I would argue wrong as a matter of principle. The players are not obligated in any of the rules and regulations of the PGA Tour to give time to the media afterwards. It's another argument as to whether they ought to be obligated, or should they feel an obligation because they are now nominally owners of the PGA Tour. They ought to be their own marketers. They should look upon that as customer service. In a way, when you have people who have invested time and money in your product, I think they are entitled to a little bit of something at the end of the narrative of the weekend. As much as I've criticized Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson over the years, they never walked away in the toughest moments, and both of those guys had plenty of those moments. I mean, I still remember, it's almost 30 years ago now, and it was one of the most painful interviews I've ever seen. Stuart Appleby gave a press conference in which he talked about seeing his wife die in an accident in front of him. And he bawled his eyes out, and everyone in the room bawled their eyes out with him. People have faced much worse and felt a sense that they can actually share those moments. Golf tournaments aren't really that important in the grand scheme of things. I do think there's a sense among this generation of players that it's more optional than it ought to be. But as Rory said, that's an issue for Jay Monahan. So your move, Commissioner.
So there you go. Soft. That's what I hear. Golfers are soft today. This generation of golfers, they're soft. That's all I hear. They don't want to answer questions from the media. Here's the thing with this.
There's no media. I mean, like, what are we talking about?
That's the part that I've seen this,
especially in golf. Like, Doug Ferguson's out there dying on a hill, man, and that's it. Like, he's not like gonna hold your feet to the fire. The whole point of media and availability is for people to get to know you and to support you.
But
and
you can control that now yourself.
Make money.
You can control it yourself now.
You absolutely
You don't have to have the conduit anymore.
You don't have to. But sometimes that third party, when it is not necessarily working in your benefit, can help you promote even more.
I do find it interesting with golf in particular, in that I've always found golf media to be in like symbiosis with golf. It's if it's good for golf, it's good for you. So they're going to promote the sport, and they're not going to hold golfers their feet to the fire. It's almost when they choke or whatever it is, or you see a massive failure, they become sympathetic figures, not necessarily like, What were you thinking? Oh, you gagged on the biggest stage. Like, there's no in golf media, that stuff does not exist. It doesn't turn into that kind of a debate. So I'm really at a loss as to why a Rory McIlroy or really anybody else would be upset at the way golf media treats them, at least from a 5,000-foot view. So I'm not immersed in golf media all the time. I'm just simply saying from what I see, golf is very, very forgiving. Golf media is very forgiving of the people they cover. So what are you upset about? If you're if anything, if you find yourself in a low moment, golf media is going to do nothing but help you in that situation to make you look sympathetic or to understand where you're coming from, not quote unquote, hold your feet to the fire. If holding your feet to the fire is the question being, what were you thinking on that shot? Well, that's not a tough question. That's just saying, hey man, what was going on? I feel like there's no tough questions in golf. Maybe that's a mischaracterization. I admit that I'm not immersed in golf media all the time.
There probably was during the live Brexit, but now.
But even now, it's like an afterthought in the grand scheme of things. Even now it is. So, I don't know. Soft. That's all I read. You know what's soft, but in a good way?
Rowback.
Rowback.com. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. I got the jogger pants in. That material is supple.
Ooh.
It's really comfortable, man. Really, really comfortable. So I'm graduating from the shorts.
Will those be your
to
driving pants on Wednesday?
Nah, I'll wear jeans.
Okay.
Yes. Well, the joggers will come in handy for some
jeans
more.
because you have to wear a diaper so you can get to Dayton in 7 hours or some bullshit.
8.5. I got to Detroit in 10, dude.
You're a nut.
I should be able to do that in 8.5.
You're a nut.
Although there is a stop. We do have to stop in Charleston, West Virginia at one point for lunch. The kids have to eat lunch.
Stop. What?
The kids
pack them a lunch. Get them a Capri Sun. They can pee into the pouch.
Well, I mean, either way. I mean, will I be wearing a Rowback hoodie on the way though, as I'm comfortable in the car? Yes, I will be doing that. So go to rowback.com, use that promo code OG20. You know what I might do is I might go to Happy and Hail the day before.
Oh.
And I might just get a bunch of smoothies, maybe some bowls, and then feed the kids along the way. And like that's what we're doing for lunch, guys. We're packing a lunch. We went to Happy and Hail the day before.
No, you ready for this?
I don't know. Am I ready for it?
No, you're not. Happy and Hail container pop-up.
Ooh, it's finally happening?
It's here
It's
in
here?
April.
Okay. Awesome.
Smoky Hollow down by the Publix downtown, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. until they sell out.
Okay.
There's 3 total bowl options. They are $10 a bowl.
Ooh.
So Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. until they sell out. There's it's a container downtown, Happy and Hill. There's also a pickleball court and a dog park right there in Smoky Hollow. So go check them out. Chip Patterson is filling in for you on Thursday.
Okay.
I'm considering doing the show from there on Thursday.
You should. Can you get an Ethernet? Can you get an Ethernet cord all the way out there?
I have the cord. You know we have the cord. The
got
question
100 yards of Ethernet cable.
Where could the connection be?
Well,
we'll work on it.
Doesn't Tyler have a spot in Smoky Hollow?
He does.
They do have to have. They're running cards, right?
It is across the street from where his spot is from Madre.
Let a card. I think that cable can handle a couple of cards.
Couple car runs.
Yeah, I'm sure it can. See what happens.
You know, it's an adventure. When you're not here, it's always an adventure.
Yeah,
it's always an adventure.
That's one way of putting it.
It's always live and it's always an adventure.
That's a very good point. You don't want to have an adventure in your backyard when it comes to swatting mosquitoes. So what you need to do is you need to contact our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Bugsbite.com. New customers, Joe. Get that first treatment.
Not only new customers, but really anyone who says
you heard it here.
I heard it here on the OG. It's $29 American dollars. That's it. $29. That's not even lunch and a coffee, dude.
Yeah, man.
$29. Get rid of those mosquitoes at your house. Just tell them, hey, heard it on the OG, or go to bugsbite.com.
All right, let's go to the OG sports phone as we get out of here with some Hey Joe questions.
919-444-2211. Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, this came to us from a 336.
Watching the Florida-Auburn Final Four game, and Ian Eagle was talking about how both of them had lost in the first round of last year's tournament. And then as an ode to Giglio, he said, basically paraphrased your college basketball as a year-to-year proposition. He said, things can change year to year and change very quickly. So once again, just another mark for the Giglio is right. So year-to-year proposition it is.
Why'd you save it till the end? I
Save
set you up. I queued you up.
Save the best for last. Although we have a new variation on it.
I know.
When are we going to get
pliable?
When are we going to get to a half-to-half proposition?
It kind of was. The officiating was last night, right?
Yeah, the officiating was a bit of a mess. They let a football game play out. It was a half-to-half proposition.
Four fouls in the first half, 25 in the second.
It's ridiculous.
And no one was really fouling on purpose.
You know what? I think Duke's second half and the first half against Florida, Houston held those respective teams to a total of 61 points. So maybe it is a half-to-half proposition.
Yeah.
Let's take it even a step further. All right, from a 919.
What's up, guys? Just got done listening to the latest After Dark on Duke's loss, and I just have to say, as an obviously I'm not a Duke fan, but I think this was best case scenario for college basketball as a whole. I'm not saying I'm not for NIL, paying players, all that stuff, but Duke having the best possible team and most stacked team that money can buy, winning the championship is not good for the game of basketball. It sets a scary and dumb precedent of, hey man, whoever pays the most gets the best players, which, you know, might be the case, but which would then equal always winning the championship. That's not a place I don't think anybody wants to be at. I mean, Duke's team was truly perfect from 1 to 5, and then their bench players that they had were amazing as well. So I think this is good for basketball. I know Houston and Florida paid players too, but I mean, it shows how it's not all about the dollar. It's not all about who you're paying. It's the fit and the grit and all of that stuff, which I think is what college basketball is and should be about at the end of the day. If I wanted to watch the highest paid team, I love the Dodgers or the Lakers compete every year, I'd watch pro. So I just wanted to say I think this is a win for everybody not a Duke fan, regardless of how annoying Duke is. Just from a team who shields their NIL budget, but we all know they pay top 10, top 5 money. So anyways, that's my take on it. Have a good one, guys.
That whole attitude I'm not going to understand. It's almost
there is a subset of college fans who don't like NIL, the professionalization of college sports, because they don't like when people are rewarded.
They don't like when people are rewarded.
Yeah.
But the thing was, people were getting rewarded one way or the other.
Just want to play for the glory.
Right. That's when was the last time that was the case? 100 years ago?
Actually, the way that it started was they paid people who came back from the war to play for one team 1 week and then another the other. So, yeah, it's a pretty tight window where it was actually playing for the team, playing for the school.
I don't understand the naive attitude towards this kind of stuff, as if the blue bloods were blue bloods that just happened to be blue bloods.
Because I like the shorts.
That's what it was. Come on now. Y'all know better than that. Don't be so naive. And also, we've known for the longest time that money doesn't necessarily buy you championships. I mean, we talked about it at the beginning. Go look at Texas's budget and where are the championships to show for it. Heck, you could be Texas A&M and have all the oil money in the world and truly have nothing to show for it. All right, this is from a 252.
I saw a tweet this weekend talking about how deep down Coach K is happy. And I was wondering what you think about that. I'll hang up and listen. Bye.
Coach K was happy? No, Coach K is not happy that Duke lost. Coach K would absolutely take a victory lap if John Shire pulled it off and won a championship in the first 3 years. Absolutely run a victory lap on that one, because that was the whole point.
Yes.
So no, he is not secretly happy. He wants John to win because it proves he was right. That's how that works.
Yeah, this is not a Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson situation.
No.
I can literally get
no.
any warm body to coach this team and win the Super Bowl.
No, man. Although that gets us to an 832 text. Still cannot get into Twitter. So here's some sports facts. Florida just tied Villanova with the 8th most national championships, unofficial with Louisville. It is really hard to win the national championship in college basketball. And Golden is the youngest head coach to win the national championship game since
Jim Valvano.
Jim Valvano against who?
Houston.
Houston cannot catch a break. Are you a young coach who hasn't won a championship yet, going up against Houston in a title game? And some Houston greats are in the building, right down to Jim Nantz? Nah, it's not gonna look good for you, man.
Whoa, interesting though.
Mm-hmm.
For Golden's purposes.
Okay.
Jim Valvano beats Houston, wins the national title, never goes back to the Final Four. Oh, John Thompson went back the next year, just never won a title. But that's the only other time he went back was 85. Georgetown beats Houston in 84. So most people forget Houston was the opponent. Akeem was still there.
Oh, that's right.
So it was Akeem versus Ewing in the 84 title game, but Thompson did go back one more time and one more time only the very next year. They lost the perfect game to Villanova.
All right, to a 252.
What's going on, guys? I just wanted to follow up real quick on a text you guys mentioned on the show yesterday where somebody texted in that Carolina has the longest Final Four drought in the Triangle. And since when is making the Final Four bigger than winning a championship? Like, making the Final Four is so fucking overrated. Like, it's not about making it to the Final Four. It's about winning the Final Four. It's about winning championships. Okay? And which Triangle team has won a championship the most recently? Oh, that's right, Carolina. Like, and you ask, was Duke's season a failure? Absolutely it was a failure. You know why? Because they didn't win the fucking championship. Okay? Like, Carolina has the most Final Four appearances of any team. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I care about championships won, not Final Fours made. So, making the Final Four shouldn't be such a big deal. It's overrated. Like, NC State acts like they won the championship last year. You made the Final Four and got your ass handed to you on a silver platter by Purdue. If that's such a big deal, if you want to hang a fucking banner for coming up short, go for it. At Carolina, the standard's winning championships. Now, of course, there's rare occasions like 22 where we didn't win the championship, but we beat Duke in the Final Four and retired Coach K. That's like a once-in-a-generation type situation where the national semifinal is bigger than the championship game itself. But that's rare, okay? So, no, I'm not talking about you guys in particular. I'm talking about people in general. We need to stop overrating the Final Four. It's not about making the Final Four. It's about winning the fucking championship.
Well, now part of being in the Triangle is having that little retort, right? Like, yeah, okay, we have the longest Final Four job, but we're the last ones with the title. I do like that.
Yeah.
I do have to clap back slightly though with the banner thing. Buddy, when's the last time you've been to the Smith Center? There's some regular season ties in there.
Yeah.
There's a fake fucking banner next to your real titles that says from some bread company that you were the national champions in the 20s. Like, so that's not the argument you want to make as a Carolina fan, okay?
I'll actually hit on this. I referenced this on ACC Panic Room, and I thought it was funny in that this whole conversation people have been pointing out. And I actually heard Bomani bring this up too yesterday when I was listening to his podcast, now that he's back from vacation. He had brought up the fact that Duke has had all these McDonald's All-Americans, and they have not appeared in a championship game in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
The last time they showed up was the one that they won in 2015. And that Carolina title game in a championship game.
Yeah.
And that Carolina in the last 10 years has been at 3 championship games. They won one of those in 2017. They lost in 16, won 17, got 2022, lost to Kansas, right? And Bomani was making this point about, well, they got all these McDonald's All-Americans and Carolina hasn't necessarily done this. And I wanted to reach through my car stereo and strangle him because of like, are we really trying to set up Carolina as like little old Carolina? Look at what they can do with not as much talent. No. We're not doing that. We're not trying to act as though Carolina's doing more with less. If you're arguing that Carolina's doing more with less, that should be an indictment on Carolina because Carolina should not be in a position where they quote unquote have to do more with less. The only time where it was valid ends up being one of Roy's favorite teams. the 2017 national championship team because they were put in a position through the NCAA investigations where guys stuck with the program. If you want to make that
and couldn't get Brandon Ingram, who when's the last time they couldn't get a kid from Kinston?
Exactly. So if you want to position that, I'm here for it.
Sure.
But that was in 2017.
It's been a minute.
It's been a hot minute now. We're coming up on 10 years of this business. So if we're going with the little Carolina route, I bring it up as a joke that Carolina's under the radar sometimes. You should never be under the radar. So don't cry poor. You're freaking Carolina. Come on now. 704 number.
Good morning, boys. This is Jesse from Durham, and this is just an OG appreciation call. I listened to the National Sports Talk Radio this morning because my son needed my phone on the way to daycare this morning, and they talked for 20 minutes and got 3 hypotheticals deep on, well, if this team trades for this quarterback, then they can use that asset to trade for this pick in the draft to take Shedeur Sanders, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, who fucking cares about y'all rattling on for 20 minutes about 3 hypotheticals deep because some team might draft Shedeur Sanders at pick 22? So anyways, I just want to say I appreciate what you guys do and how you keep it focused on things that your audience actually gives a flying fuck about. And thanks for all you do, guys. Bye.
At first, I was thinking he took the phone away so that the kid couldn't listen to us cursing. I thought that's where he was going.
Oh, by the way, we appreciate the call. Thank you.
I love it.
We did get a 1-star review.
Was there some cursing?
Yeah.
Was it cunnilingus?
No, it was just it was basically like the cursing takes away from what I want to hear, which is reasoned sports talk. We apologize.
We do not apologize for cursing.
All right. Lastly, this is a text.
You can fuck off.
Okay. Wow. That's aggressive, Joe.
No, we are not apologizing for cursing.
We'll get out of here on this from a 336. Hey, Joe, are you intentionally not talking about your trip to Disneyland as to not tick off Giglio?
Why would it tick me off? I'm just not interested.
Right. I think that's the thing. It's be the equivalent of Joe rattling off like a bad beat to me. I was like, cool. So you lost money. Got it.
Got it. Roger.
And then there's me losing money in that I spent too much at Disneyland, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do now, in fairness, Dimitri and I talk about this on OG on Business. Will be out tomorrow, and how we relate the differences between Walt Disney World in Orlando and Disneyland in Anaheim, how it relates to sports talk radio.
Oh,
true story. But tell you what,
I will listen to that episode.
Tell you what, I'll give you one Disneyland story because I think you'll appreciate this.
What do you got to say? I'll get you out of here on this.
I'll get you out of here on this. I'm going to get you out of here on this. I'll give you one Disneyland story. So there's a ride called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Are you familiar with Mr. Toad's Wild Ride?
I have heard Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but if you were to tell me, like, what is it? I have no idea.
So it used to be at the Magic Kingdom, and they took it out and they replaced it with The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I was upset because I'm of the belief that Mr. Toad
should be upset.
I'm upset about this because Mr. Toad is a goat ride.
You're a hardline Magic Kingdom guy.
On the Mount Rushmore of rides.
Yes.
Mr. Toad is there.
Okay.
If we do a Mount Rushmore of Disney rides.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of Mr. Toad. So I was really hyped to take the kids on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. They've never been on it.
This is one of your 68 trips to Orlando.
No, this is Disneyland.
Okay.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is in Disneyland.
Is now in Disneyland.
It's always been in Disneyland.
Always been. Okay.
Yes. So I am in line for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Behind us are 2 moms and their young children.
They're youths.
Probably no older than 5.
The people who probably should be at Disneyland. Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So one of the moms explains to the children that this ride is based off of the book series Toad and Frog, or Frog and Toad. Except that it's not. The ride is based off of Wind in the Willows, which was then animated as part of a double feature with Ichabod Crane and all this other stuff. I'm getting a little in the weeds. I get it, but this is important context. This is important context, Joe. Toad and Frog It's important context. Hear me out. Hear me out. Toad and Frog is a children's book series that teaches you the value of friendships.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's very cute. Yeah, they ride around their little bike. They get into little adventures or whatever.
Maybe one day you'll grow up and have a podcast together.
Maybe. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is not about friendships.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is about a toad discovering a vehicle, a car.
Okay.
He decides to go on a joyride. He rips all through London. He's a bit of a problem driver.
Ooh.
Okay, cool. He ends up at a bar. They drink. You're on the ride. They're going through all of this. So you get in a little buggy. You start off going through your mansion, and then you go out into the countryside. You end up in a London pub. You start to drink.
How has this not been canceled yet?
After you drink, you then go out onto the streets of London at night. You get arrested. You go to court. You break out of jail, get back in the car, and then you find yourself on a railroad track. Then you get run over by the train. And then you end up in hell. And in the ride, after the train effect happens and you open up into the gates of hell with all sorts of scenes of hellfire and brimstone and like a dragon, they turn the heat on in the building.
Whoa.
So you feel like you're in hell, and then you escape. So I really wanted to ask the moms, so what did your kids learn about friendships on this ride? No. It's a drunk driving PSA. That's the takeaway from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
It's a small world after all, Joe.
That was closed for refurbishment. I was kind of upset about that. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We'll see you all. Well, I'll see you all next week. Destination Dayton awaits. Me at an indoor percussion competition. Who's jealous? Who's jealous? Don't be. See you later.